Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over and talking about the game preview for the Ravens versus Bengals game that is happening at noon tomorrow. Tomorrow is week 15 of the NFL season. It is Ravens versus Bengals. The Ravens are currently sitting at 6-7 on the season, and they're heading into, once again, another must-win game. And to be completely honest with you guys, if they lose tomorrow, it is 100% over. They're not going to be, statistically eliminated, obviously, because the Steelers could lose and also, it could keep the Ravens in it. But guys, I'm going to be honest, if we lose to the Bengals twice in the same season, it is over. If we lose to this defense twice in the same season, it is over. But yeah, tomorrow, again, and we said this the last time that we talked about the Ravens, they are legitimately going to have to win their next 4 games in a row if they want any chance at winning going to the postseason. Because if they do win out, they will still make the playoffs. They will still make the playoffs. They will win the division if they win out, as of right now. There is officially now no wiggle room left after the loss to the Steelers, which we could talk a lot about, the penalties and stuff like that. But point blank period, they just weren't the better team, and they just weren't playing good, and they didn't deserve to win that game anyway. But moving on to week 15, the Ravens officially have no more wiggle room anymore. If they really do, truly, deep inside, want to make the postseason, and if they want to make the playoffs, and if they want to win the division, they are going to have to win out. That is the only way that they actually control their own destiny, because if they end up losing, they're also going to have the Steelers lose and all that stuff. And if the Ravens lose, guys, and move to 6-8, I'm sure nobody, including the players themselves and the coaches, well, the coaches, may be different, but nobody's going to want to make the playoffs if we fall to 6-8. So the Ravens have a chance to move to 7-7 tomorrow. If they, again, everything now looking forward to this Ravens season. They've said it before in interviews how they're motivated, how they're excited to keep going in this season, how they want to finish strong and they want to make the playoffs. And if they win out, if they win their next 4 games against the Bengals, the Patriots, the Packers, and the Steelers, if they win their next 4 games, they will get into the playoffs, they will win their division, and we will end the season on a 10-7 record. That is the best that the Ravens can do now in this season. So that's, I guess, what they're going to be aiming for. We'll see what ends up happening, but we do play the Bengals tomorrow. It's going to be very similar to when we played them the last time. We're going to go over the game preview in just a second. And then we're also just going to be talking a little bit about Pete Alonso officially becoming an Oriole. That was the last episode we made a couple of days ago when Pete Alonso signed with the Orioles. It was an insane moment. And again, I do want to reiterate that this is such a big deal for Baltimore Orioles fans because, again, when you have players like this and when you have superstar players like Pete Alonso who are on the market and are going to be getting paid a lot of money, they never choose Baltimore. They never choose Baltimore. They always choose, like a Boston or New York or Chicago or, an LA or, somewhere on the West Coast, like a big city team. The Orioles are not a big city team. And for us to land Pete Alonso is such a big, it really says a lot for our franchise right now. And it really, it shows how exciting things are going to be moving forward. So obviously there's nothing but good involved in this Pete Alonso deal. He had his press conference yesterday. We're going to show a picture of him in the Orioles jersey for the first time officially, which was super, super cool to see him in the press conference, put on the hat, put on the jersey, answer some questions. It was super, super cool. And you can really get a sense and a feeling that this really is home for him for the next 5 years of his career. So this is going to be a big part of his life, and it's going to be a big deal. And we're ready to move forward with Pete Alonso as the guy in this Orioles lineup. But talking a little bit about the game preview for tomorrow, obviously we do play the Cincinnati Bengals for the second time this season. The Bengals only have 4 wins on the year. We only have 6 wins on the year. Both teams suck. Both teams have had very disappointing years. The Bengals, they lost their quarterback for a majority of the season, so they have a little bit of an excuse. But the Ravens have flat out just not looked like a good football team. Our quarterback has not been playing his best football recently. While he did have a really good second half against the Steelers last week, his first first half was not really great. Lamar Jackson has not been playing the way that, we expect him to play. And whether that's due to him dealing with multiple injuries or just him just not playing well because he's in his own head, whatever it is, he just hasn't been playing well. Just hasn't been playing great, and it's really affected some of these games, but also the defense has just been garbage. The coaching's been garbage. The playmakers on offense have just been garbage. So, and most importantly, the trenches in the offensive line and defensive line have been some of the worst in the NFL. I still believe that we have the worst individual offensive guard in the entire NFL in Daniel Falele, who is still getting reps at right guard, which is just insane to me. But, we just move forward. John Harbaugh's our head coach as of right now. We just got to live with it. And for as much as I cannot wait to see the notification where he gets fired, we're just going to have to move forward with what we have. But we head into the Week 15 game against the Bengals in Cincinnati. It's supposed to be very, very cold. I think I saw something that this game could statistically, depending on the weather, be the coldest game that the Ravens have ever played in. Not the coldest game in Baltimore, but the coldest game in general, because we're on the road in Cincinnati. And this potentially is going to be the coldest game that a Ravens team has ever played in, which is just, great. I mean, it's great. But that does kind of favor the Ravens because, again, we're not used to playing in this cold of weather. We've seen Lamar Jackson struggle a little bit in his career in cold weather, but if it is going to be a super cold game and the run game is going to be a big part of it, obviously the Ravens have a massive advantage in terms of the run game. The Ravens have done a really good job at stopping the run. Like, the defense has been very good at stopping the run recently over the past few weeks, which is really like the only positive of the defense because in terms of the pressure, it's literally like the worst in the league. The secondary hasn't been great. Just getting stops on third down hasn't been great either, but the rush defense has been really good. So the Bengals have Chase Brown at running back. Obviously, he's a solid running back. He is a good receiving back as well. But when it comes to purely running the football, obviously the Ravens have the advantage in that side. I'm looking for a big Derrick Henry game tomorrow if the cold and the weather is going to factor into it. I do expect Derrick Henry to go out there and do his thing. I don't really expect any long Lamar throws if the weather is going to be that bad. I expect a lot of quick play-action throws, which is fine, which is where Lamar's at his best. A lot of quick play-action throws down the middle, and then maybe throwing a deep ball every once and so often to a guy like Rashad Bateman if he actually plays, because Bateman is actually dealing with an ankle sprain just like he was a while ago. So Bateman is questionable for this game, but he is like the only one that is questionable. Everyone else should be healthy and good to go. So again, I'm not sure that the deep ball is really going to work this game. To be honest with you, we don't even really have the receivers for that, to be honest. We kind of got lied to going into this year. Rashad Bateman's been a bum all season long. He's been horrible. Zay Flowers has been solid. He's pretty much been our entire receiving offense. He's been our entire passing offense. And Zay Flowers is doing his thing. Sometimes he runs the opposite way to kind of create more yards, and it doesn't work out for him. But still, he has his moments. But Zay Flowers, overall, he's having a solid year, but he has more fumbles than touchdowns, guys. Like, let's be real here. Zay Flowers has been our entire passing offense. Hopefully he can have a big day on the ground. Maybe some short passes to him. Maybe some big yards after catch gains for him. Obviously, don't know how much DeAndre Hopkins is going to get involved. We literally don't even use him. I don't know why we brought him here. Rashad Bateman he's a bum. He dropped a third down ball last game. Dropped 2 balls last game also. Has had drop problems throughout his career. Him and Lamar have not been able to connect on any sort of deep ball all year, when last year it was kind of like automatic, it felt like. This is just a very different season. In every aspect, it's been bad, to be honest. But I'm looking for a big Derrick Henry game tomorrow. Hopefully the offensive line can actually block for him to make it past the initial line of scrimmage, which they've really struggled with this year. I think I saw something like Derrick Henry's getting hit more behind the line of scrimmage this season than like he has like the past 5 years or so. So, that's a great stat to hear for the Ravens. Compared to like last year when Derrick Henry arguably had the best year of his career when you talk about like where he is at in his career. But again, when it comes to the Ravens, guys, if we're going to be completely honest, if they win, that's great. They keep their season hopes alive. And then if the Ravens win and the Steelers lose and they get some help from the Dolphins beating the Steelers on Monday Night Football, If the Steelers lose and the Ravens win, then the Ravens move back in first of the AFC North. But the Steelers are favored in their game against the Dolphins, but so are the Ravens against the Bengals. I think we're sitting at 3.5-point favorites against the Bengals, so we'll see how that actually ends up. It feels like every single time we're favored in a game, we don't end up winning, or we don't end up covering the spread at all. So yeah, it just felt like that kind of year. But Ravens on the road. We're going to be on the road for 3 of our next 4 games to end this season. We're going to be on the road in Cincinnati, in Pittsburgh, and in Green Bay. The only home game we have left is against the Patriots next Sunday. And speaking of the Patriots game, that game is going to be on primetime, and also the Packers game is going to be on primetime as well. So back-to-back primetime games for the Ravens. I don't know why the NFL is trying to embarrass us. I wish they would just kind of leave us alone. But primetime games are always fun, unless you lose and embarrass yourself in front of everyone like we did on Thanksgiving. Sorry, I'm being a little negative right now. We're just not good. I mean, I'm just kind of over it. There's some fans that have kind of checked out already because, it might be a win-win scenario for some people. If we win, then it keeps our season alive and hope, maybe we'll make the playoffs in the fast 3 weeks. But if we lose, then we lose. We kind of accept that it's officially over, and then you kind of just hopefully lose the next 3 games and focus on the draft. So either way, even if this team does make the playoffs, I think that there's a lot of people, including myself, that might not have the best hopes for this team if we go into the postseason. Because, again, if we do go into the postseason, we're still going to have the same offensive line and same defensive line. So we're not going to get any pressure on any quarterback. And depending on who we face, let's say we play the Texans in round 1, Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter are going to kill Lamar Jackson. Same thing with Nick Benito and you look at the AFC and some of these incredible defenses like the Broncos and the Texans. I just don't really want to play those defenses because I know that our offensive line is going to get absolutely torn to shreds in the postseason, because, again, a big part about the postseason is the trenches. I mean, the Eagles showed us that last year, and having a good offensive line, being able to protect your star quarterback, and having a good defensive line, being able to make things uncomfortable for your opponent is such a big thing when it comes to the postseason, and the Ravens are literally the worst at both, so it's all going to come down to Lamar Jackson hopefully going back to being who he was and going back to being Superman, and Derrick Henry just being his best with this horrible offensive line. So, and I also just don't really trust Zach Orr in any clutch situation against a team that actually wants to win football games, unlike the Browns and the Jets and the Vikings and teams that he played before. So, not a lot of optimism from Ravens flock here. Some people just want it to be over. Some people are still holding out for the playoffs. Now, what I will say is that the AFC does kind of feel wide open right now. If the season ended right now, and he gave me a prediction ballot that I had to kind of predict what was going to go on in the AFC. To be honest with you, I have no idea who I would choose. There's kind of a part of me that kind of wants to go with the Texans just because their defense is absolutely insane, and they can be in uncomfortable games against anyone, and who knows what can happen then. But we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully the Ravens do win tomorrow. Hopefully they keep their season alive. I would love to see this team in the playoffs, just to see my team in the playoffs. We'll see what ends up happening once we get there. But just giving us a chance would be really cool, and maybe we can make something happen. And the last thing that I want to talk about for a little bit in this episode is Pete Alonso officially as an Oriole. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my screen right now. Pete Alonso looking happy as can be in that Orioles uniform. Wearing number 25, rocking number 25. Obviously, Frank Robinson did wear number 20, which is Pete Alonso's number throughout his entire MLB career with the Mets. So he can't wear number 20 in Baltimore because it is retired. So Pete Alonso is opting with number 25. Number 25, Pete Alonso for the Baltimore Orioles, first baseman for the Baltimore Orioles. Still kind of surreal that this ended up happening. I mean, if you go back and watch my last episode of Birds of a Feather, it was kind of like my initial raw reaction to Pete Alonso signing with the Orioles, and it was crazy. I was freaking out around my house. I was running around my house freaking out, and obviously when I recorded the episode, you can kind of tell the emotions were pretty high, just because not only is this an exciting signing for Baltimore sports, in my opinion, this is the biggest signing in Baltimore sports history, Ravens included. And, again, like, people just don't go to Baltimore, man, and it's just so cool to see someone end up going here, and this could really be something that could kind of shift the change for the future, because, again, the Orioles are all in on starting pitching, whether that's Fromber, whether that's Ranger, Michael King, Tatsui Amai, maybe even trading a Kobe Mayo and a package with Kobe Mayo together for like a Mackenzie Gore or an Edward Cabrera. So Mike Elias is hard at work trying to get the starting pitching staff recruited, trying to clean up that starting pitching, get one of those top-end guys, which is what we were hoping for, alongside Trevor Rogers and Kyle Bradish. Obviously, when it comes to the lineup, that is complete. Adding Pete Alonso in the middle of that lineup at the 3 or 4 spot, surrounded by Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg, Taylor Ward. Obviously, that lineup is going to be crazy. That is by far one of the best and most potentially powerful in terms of like home run hitting power. That is one of the best lineups in the American League by far, and I'll say that. One of the best lineups in the American League, but obviously what's next is the pitching, and there's still hopefully is going to be a big trick up Mike Elias' sleeve when it comes to landing one of these star pitchers available, whether that's a Fromber, a Michael King, a Tatsui Amai, Ranger Suarez, and I've heard that Ranger Suarez we're a little bit far off of. I heard that he wants 7 years, but we don't want to give him 7 years. So I think Fromber right now is probably the biggest favorite to land with the Orioles. So we'll see what ends up happening. Again, I'll take any of these guys and even a trade for Mackenzie Gore or Edward Cabrera. I would love that as well. But we'll see what ends up happening. Pete Alonso is an Oriole. It's a great time to be an Orioles fan. They're really saving the city of Baltimore right now. But again, just like every single day, you kind of just like wake up and think, oh my God, Pete Alonso's an Oriole. And it's just crazy. It's crazy that we're here. I cannot wait for opening day, and I cannot wait to see what Mike Elias has, what move he has next. Because, again, we're going to go over any move that he ends up doing. We're going to talk about any rumors that are going on. Past couple of days, it has been a little bit quiet. Really, since the Pete signing, it's been a little bit quiet. But things are going to be picking up hopefully soon this week. And hopefully we'll see the starting pitching market start to move. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify, make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. I post all the time on Twitter, so make sure to check that out. Make sure to give that a big ol' follow. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure to give the Twitter a follow. Make sure to give the Instagram a follow. Post all the time on there. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the post-game recap for the Ravens and Bengals game, where hopefully the Ravens can go back to 500 at 7-7 on the year, and then obviously we'll see what ends up happening over the next 3 weeks. But again, I appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great Steelers day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you later. Peace out.